Mm-hmm.
And we would always broadcast, we would always post them up on YouTube or whatever. And I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm going to, thank you everybody for showing up here.
Oh, see, now you have another one here. I'll admit him. I don't even know who it is.
It's the famous David Lawrence.
No, it's the famous DL. He's on the DL. That's all I have on my screen. DL on the DL.
Am I the first? Wow, special.
You're not?
No.
Oh,
well, yeah, no. He probably is, because I don't really count, right?
No, Eric counts. You totally count. I'll take number 2. All good.
There you go. There you go. Oh. No, but this is as formal as it's going to get. I will say that much. Yeah, and we did, and I'll mention this to everybody else, but we did post the final LinkedIn presentation and the materials we used for that.
That's on the.
That's up on the site. Yep. If you go into the members area, it's a new campaign you can download, and it's really the same campaign. It's just configured to work from a LinkedIn standpoint, and we'll talk about that as far as what worked and what didn't. The one thing I'm finding is that the actual show up rate is significantly lower, and in hindsight, for an online event for LinkedIn people, because we had over 100 people who said they're going to attend. We only had about 12 or 13 actually show up, but one turned into a very strong lead. So.
Well, now you just got to go close it.
There's that. And we're doing another one tomorrow. It's actually partnering with Datto on that one.
Interesting.
So, yeah, we're just finding the cost as far as doing these things and marketing them through LinkedIn, and especially when you start talking about focusing to those potential CoMITs, it's so much easier using a tool like LinkedIn. It just, I don't want to say it does itself, but it's close to it. Okay, now we got Rick.
Oh, no, not Rick Monig.
Wasn't my idea.
Shit. Good morning, Rick Monig.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Oh, don't ask him.
I'm spectacular. Oh, you're still
Eric will just
there.
Keep talking too.
You're just still there.
How's lovely California?
Well, it's bright and sunny, and I'm not wearing a jacket. In fact, it's going to be a little too sunny today. It's supposed to be almost 100.
Oh, wow.
It was beautiful this weekend, but maybe not so beautiful this week.
Yeah, we're down in the 40s. It's terrible.
Yeah, no thanks. That's not go drive the convertible weather, so I'm out. Actually, it's only supposed to be 86 today. So I guess that's not near 100. I suppose it's nearer to 100 than 40 though, so.
That's true.
That's right. You're still relegated to the Florida room or whatever you guys call those.
Yep, outside-ish.
Outside-ish.
They hear that.
Rick, are you in Florida?
No, I'm actually in the Poconos.
Oh, okay.
In Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
That is the right term though, right? Is Florida room?
This is just a screen-in porch with some plexiglass, so we're high-tech.
Oh, okay.
Well, here's the thing. As soon as I start saying that, we get another one.
There you go.
So we had about, and by the way, I am recording this. I will be pushing this up to the member page, whatever you want to call it. As far as agendas go, all that kind of fun stuff, I do want to talk a little bit about what we've been doing with LinkedIn and what I put up on the site as far as what's available now on LinkedIn, but also want to just get some feedback from you guys as far as what we want to do with this group, because I want to make this a monthly group. Because I think with all the peer talks and all of that kind of peer groups and all, I think one specifically talking about CoMITs would be useful. So that's kind of where I'm going, but I really want to stress, those of you guys who know me, I will talk for way too long about just about anything without really a care. So shut me up or guide me. Okay. So for those of you who have been keeping track or whatever, you may recall, we pretty much here at Simplex IT, I'm going to go back and forth between my Simplex IT and the CoMITs4MSPs at. First of all, we're Robin Robbins people, all that kind of fun stuff. And we kind of went into 2020 with really doing a lot of direct mail and calls and combined those with in-person events. And that lasted for about 3 months. And I'll leave you in suspense as to why we changed things, you know. So we put all that on hold. We then did a whole bunch of webinars, all that kind of fun stuff. And we did that. We did I think it was 2 webinars a week for about 2 months or so. And then we went back to doing some direct mail. And what we did was we actually developed some groups, and we sent copies of the CEO's book. And when we identified the IT person, we would send the I Don't Want Your Job book, and then follow up with phone calls. And we did about 150 of those in a combination of July and August, and had absolutely crap response. And we got crap response in terms of people not getting the books. We got crap response in terms of people, you know, it not being delivered or being delivered. It just was one of those where we just got really, really poor response relative to what we're used to getting in terms of direct mail. And so, and there was also the time, you know, how is timing for marketing? At the same time we started, and there's a webinar up on YouTube where we talk about this, we started really digging into LinkedIn. And I'll show you guys in a few minutes what we've done. We really started in February, where we went through and we spent a fair amount of time and a fair amount of resource building our contact. And again, for those of you guys who got here a couple of minutes late, I'm not going to tell you anything we talked about because you're late. No. This is not a presentation on my part, although I will treat it as such. So make this interactive, give some feedback, all of that kind of fun stuff. This is going to be a monthly thing, but I don't want this to be a monthly thing of me presenting every month. I'd rather it be a give and take. You guys tell me what you need or what's going on with you guys. But I wanted to start with this just update because it is, I think it is interesting. So this is, I'm sharing now one of my screens. So you should see the WeConnect app. And the WeConnect app is a tool, an online tool you can use that will essentially automate some of the initial contacts you can do with LinkedIn. And we really did it between May and July, July or so, where we were putting out constant connection requests and conversations and all of that kind of fun stuff. And it was very specific. And I'll show you the LinkedIn tools we use. So we were going after either CEOs or IT directors for SMBs in Northeast Ohio. Okay, so we're not going after the person who's going to solve all my marketing problems with an AOL account or whatever. And as you can see, we connected with over 1,300 people. And where you see the down flat line, that's where we really weren't doing much on it. So we did not spend all of our time. And this cost us probably about $100. Well, you got the LinkedIn licensing, all that kind of fun stuff. Probably about $200, $250 in terms of people time, effort, dollars, all that kind of stuff. And those 1,300, those are the connections that we asked for. So these are not, again, these are not people who are just you know, like some of the Facebook where you end up with 3,000 connections in Thailand or something along those lines. These are people we want to talk to. And you'll also notice that there's another number down here, replied to connection. Part of what this tool also does is it engages it with initial conversation. Now, once someone replies to this initial conversation, you've got to take that conversation over because this stuff can't do actual human or people talk. But this tool alone created 1,300 additional connections, and it created 540 some conversations. And some of the conversations were not interested, but actually very few of them. So this right here, from a cost per connection, cost per contact, cost, I hate to call it lead because it's not that strong. There's no interest indicated because we're not selling anything. But this created people who are now going to move, we're going to move significantly higher in terms of anything we do on LinkedIn, are they going to see it? Okay, I strongly suggest you take a look at this. And to show kind of what we do, if I look at my messaging, you have some of these. Let's take this, the charming Ryla Rivera, who connected with me. Hi, thanks for accepting. I want to connect with you, talk about generating. Immediately jumped into the sales pitch. And I immediately lost interest. Do not do this. This does not work well. Instead, what we would do, if I can find one. Oh, let me get rid of this filter. And by the way, this is kludgy. LinkedIn is tough to navigate with and the like.
No way. Something Microsoft did is kludgy?
Well, no, Microsoft bought this. So they actually bought it and made it kludgier.
Exactly. They bought it and screwed it up.
Well, actually, one of the things is Microsoft really doesn't want this to become an automated. So they do everything they can, like the Connect tool that I showed you. Microsoft constantly is creating problems or challenges in terms of automating this stuff. That's on purpose. So here's what we do. Hey, just wanted, it looks like we're staying busy. Just want to see if you're interested in being a part of my new LinkedIn group. It's okay if you're interested, blah, blah, blah. So this is a group that we created. Now, groups in LinkedIn are not the same thing as groups in Facebook. All they really do is if you are a member of the group, if someone posts to that group, it heightens the probability that it's going to show up in your lead or in your feed, excuse me. So, and that's all of this stuff does. It just increases the probability of that your stuff is going to be visible, which at the end of the day is all we can hope for. So here's one. Here's one thread that we do. Hey, would you be open to connecting on LinkedIn? No sales pitch, no nothing. Then here's my follow-up. I'm just curious to know about work from home. Again, I'm not selling anything. I just want to know if you want some human conversation. Human for me. Okay. And then just repeat the same message, little cut down, so it's not obviously a cut and paste. Hey, hope everything's okay. Blah, blah, blah. So that's all of that is automated. And you'll notice I haven't sold a thing. I haven't tried to get them to buy anything. I haven't pitched me at all, except for this group thing.
So,
yeah. I'm sorry, I thought there was a question. And
so you did create that management professionals forum, right? That's all.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I go over to that, I go over to my network. And bump, bump. And any minute now, I'm going to be able to click on groups because it's going to come up here. Unless Microsoft heard, Eric and now thinks I don't like them. So, of course, it moves right when I click, so I get the wrong damn thing. So we've got right now about 350, I think, members in this group.
Bob, what do you offer in this group? You said it's not like Facebook group. Do you post anything, or it's just a membership that they're just a member of?
Great question. So all this really does, to my understanding, and by the way, if someone's a LinkedIn expert, they know more than I do. All it really does is when you post something to the group, it heightens probability that the group members will see it, that will show up directly on their feed. That's all we really can do. So if we go over to my group, professional, 373 members, and I encourage anyone wants to post. I don't care if you're a competition, go ahead and post. Whatever you want to do, post, because the more it's there, the more valuable it is. Here's, and again, getting back to another thing we do, which is the daily video. Here's one of the videos that we're doing. Somebody else posted some stuff. Another post I did, welcoming people to the group. Again, it's one of those where we're not selling anything from this perspective because we're trying to build. Now, there are other people who will tell you absolutely always be selling, always be that, always. Just not the way we do things. And I think in the case of CoMITs, you have to be doubly careful because if they think you're just there to sell them the services, they're also thinking you're just there to replace them. So are you bringing them value? And I think with the kind of posts and the kind of thing we're doing, absolutely works for us. And I think, let's see if I can find it. We had one company here, right here, looking for a good IT service in the Dayton area. That's about 3 hours from us. We're in talks right now. We're doing a proposal for them. Okay, now they're relatively small. They're about 20 employees or so, but they're also doing a lot of defense work, so they know the cost of well-structured IT. Now, this is not a CoMITs opportunity. This is a pure MSP opportunity. I'm fine with that. Okay. So we're going to continue, and then we're going to, as you take a look at some of our videos, like for this one, we're talking about training our clients. So we're talking about what we do with our clients, how we train our clients, how we do. So that's that constant message about who we are and what we do. Is that selling? I don't know. Okay, now, if you look at the involvement of investment, the only investment I have here for any of this stuff is a couple $100 for the license, because this is the paid license for LinkedIn, and I'll show why in a minute. And also for that connect thing, and then the time necessary to keep up with this. And we've got it basically, so I've got people who are paying attention to LinkedIn. And when there's something posted that they can get away with a great job, looks interesting, that's cool, they'll go ahead and reply as me. If not, they'll Teams me with a link to where they need someone more obnoxious. So I go and directly, so I don't have to police this because that would be, oh my God, because Microsoft LinkedIn doesn't really make it easy. Make sense? So if we look at, and this is going to be the part where I'm going to screw up, at the Sales Navigator, which is included with the LinkedIn, I think it's a $75 a month subscription. I can go in here and I can create a search group in LinkedIn of people who have particular jobs or particular industries or anything along those lines, and then take that group and move it over to that Connect tool and start that process of sending them invitations. Or I can just do it myself here. Okay. So the process here is relatively low cost, and the part-time people I've got doing this, don't take this the wrong way, I got them cheap. I basically went out, I did not post job ads for them because only people who want full-time jobs go for those. I literally went onto Facebook and just said, hey, somebody looking for some part-time work that's, you know, is stress-free and you can do it on your own hours and yada, yada, yada. And I'm going to sound sexist here. And we got a couple of housewives, mothers, who had some spare time on their hands and didn't want to flip fries or flip burgers. And they're fantastic. They do great work. And we tell them, we say, no, we're not going to pay you a huge amount of money. We're going to pay you 10, 12 bucks an hour. But you're also going to be able to do this. You know, we'll give you some training on it. We'll give you some help, you know. But we hired 2 of them this way. We averaged somewhere between 10 and 20 hours per week for each one of them. And each one of them have been here for about a year. It's worked out fantastic.
And so what are some of the activities that those folks are doing?
So if we take a look at, here's my notification. So I've got all of these tasks and comments and all of those kind of stuff. So they really keep an eye on this. They post the videos for me. They keep an eye on the comments. And when a comment is just a thumbs up or, hey, that's great, they'll do the comment for me. For all purposes, in terms of this conversation, their main responsibility is to keep me alive on LinkedIn and keep this process going.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So if I go into the searches that I have.
Sorry, one more question. You're obviously having them log in as you.
Absolutely.
Right? So they're just doing it on their own machine, logging in as you.
Correct.
Okay.
Which does lead to, I will go through about every 3 or 4 weeks, I will just get all sorts of challenges from LinkedIn wanting to know that I'm really who I say I am. But LinkedIn is an individual product. It is not built for businesses.
Right.
So, so if I take a look at IT Manager Second Connection. So we go for this geography. We're looking for 2nd or 3rd degrees. So people who are either 2nd or 3rd connection to me. We can go after what industry, what head count, what's their function, what are some of their titles, and boom, here are the people. So we have 766, and it'll even tell you whether they've changed their jobs, whether they're active on LinkedIn, whether I've already seen them somehow. And then I can take these groups, build them into smaller groups, and kind of use this for the let's go out and connect with them. Make sense?
And obviously there's the 2 angles of IT manager and then the C-level, like,
right.
But do you find that you have better success or are focusing on, like, to get in, that initial get in? You have to get them both in the same room, actually, but to contact them on LinkedIn, are you finding more the IT manager angle, IT focused angle, or the C-level angle?
It's interesting because that is always the question. All right. And I'm actually close to having an answer to that. The bottom line is I get probably more engagement from the IT person. And I think part of that is because the CEO is probably receiving 10 times more messages. Okay. So I'm definitely getting more from the IT, but if you'll notice, our connections are not specific to CoMITs. And here's one of the things that I'm finally getting around my head almost, is that we need to stop talking about ourselves. We need to start talking about the client. Because if we talk about the client in terms of, at the end of the day, we want you to have good IT, then it really doesn't matter whether we're talking Pure or CoMITs. We want you to have good IT. And we're starting to move and to engage in the conversation in that way. So to give you an idea, and this kind of leaps ahead a little bit, this is an event that we did specifically. This was what we just did and what I just posted. It's up on the website now for you guys to download. So this is the event we did. 3 easy ways to be the IT hero without pesky consultants. Absolutely aimed at the internal IT person. No question, no ifs, ands, or buts. This is CoMITs all the way through. Now, we don't actually talk about CoMITs except a couple of side notes. And we did this is one where we've done it as a breakfast event, Q4 and Q1. We finally did it as a virtual event on the 30th. Again, if you guys go and download, there's a document there that will include a link where you can watch what we did. Went for about 30 minutes, or excuse me, 1 hour. And we did get one strong lead out of this. We had, as you can see, 102 or 104 or 5 RSVPs. Only about a dozen or so showed up, but one turned into a very solid CoMITs lead, which we're working on. Okay. But the idea being that this is one where we're absolutely, boom, that's what we're going after. All right. And the presentation is, we want to talk to that individual about the need to document, about the need to identify single points of failure, and the need to improve your relationship with management. And the whole goal, and this is where the nuance can change depending upon how you guys want to do it. You can either present that as we will help you do that in the CoMITs world, or I want to help you do that out of the goodness of my heart, but if you give me 5 minutes, I'd also like to talk to you about CoMITs. It's kind of, how far do you want to take, how far do you want to lead the animal versus trapping the animal, for lack of a better word. And the presentation is such that you really can modify that. Right now, it's definitely, we want to go through adding this value. We really want to show you how we're trying to help you out, and just give me a little bit of time to talk to you about CoMITs at the end of it. But your mileage may vary. So if you think about it, from what we've done is we've built these connections, we've built these I don't want to call them relationships because they really haven't gone that far yet. But then all we do is we create the event on LinkedIn, and we simply go and send the invite to people. Now, unfortunately, it is a certain cut and paste, but it does not take long to do, and it does not take a high priced person to do it. So, and this worked out for us very well. Okay, again, for all the work it took us to put this together, we got one lead out of it, and that's, the cost for doing this once was about 20 to 40 bucks, if that. Any questions on this?
I have a question here, Bob. So
Sure.
You mentioned you go after CEO. Okay, so how do you know if this is so I assume the message that you send is kind of general message, and later you separate them if it's a MSP or if it's a CoMIT candidate. Is that correct? Or you separate them from the beginning? This CEO should get messages about CoMIT. This CEO should get messages about MSP. How you separate those?
Well, and that's a good question, because unfortunately it potentially depends on things that are outside of your knowledge or control if we're not careful, because we don't know whether or not, when we first talk to a CEO, we don't necessarily know if they have internal IT. Now, if they don't, it's an MSP. It's a pure MSP opportunity. If they do, then it's a question of whether or not they are interested in replacing them or not. And so here's one of the things that we just did. And let's see. So this is our next event that we're doing tomorrow, actually. And this is one we're doing with data. Okay. And this is basically Flexible and Secure Organizations Workforce 2021. And what we're basically doing for this guy, and if you read this one, it's for both the internal IT and the CEO. We're going to give this one a try. So we're basically going to talk about, we're going to try to actually go between them so that the value is going to be there for both the internal IT and the CEO. So that if someone is just the CEO and they're looking for a pure MSP, this is still going to be valuable because we're talking about moving into that agile workforce, or we're calling Workforce 2021. Whereas if it's the internal IT person, we're going to give them the same advice, but what they need to do. And in both cases, come to us if you've got questions. So we're going to try to thread that needle with this presentation. And we didn't for that other one, where we're actually going to talk more about the results. The results is you want to have a flexible organization. You want to have a secure organization. You got internal IT, we will work with them because that's what CoMITs is all about. If you don't have internal IT, we can do that too because it's a pure MSP relationship. But by taking the subject matter of what the results are for the client and pushing that forward, that makes it so that whether this is a pure MSP or co-managed, IT scenario, really doesn't matter as much. Because it's the results we're talking about and we can handle the results regardless. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does. Yeah. Thank you.
And that's where my brain has been going lately. And so we're going to be coming up with more and more events and more presentations that are going to be oriented in that way. That we're going to try to basically talk to both scenarios because we're going to be focusing on the solution, not on us, which in hindsight, that should always be the case. People don't buy drills, they buy holes.
And so this presentation you're doing with Datto, they're doing part of that presentation with you?
Yes. So if any of you guys are Datto partners, Datto will do these with you. All you got to do is ask. And they will do the presentations. And you can ask them. And I always say, you should always, regardless of who the vendor is, you should always be part of the presentation because otherwise it's the vendor who's getting all the credit. So I am co-presenting with this one. I'm co-presenting with Datto on this. And I'm going to be specific. I'm going to be very focused on making sure that I bring up co-managed and internal IT people in a partnership scenario.
And so are you, I guess, how do you align your presentation with each other?
Practice. I mean, honestly, this is one where I can do this stuff in my sleep now. So I've done this enough times. And so has Datto. So I would say, and again, I can't speak to all vendors or honestly all the presentations over in Datto or all that kind of fun stuff. If you talk with them ahead of time, you get a hold of their screenshots and all of that, and you kind of have one of two ways of doing this. And honestly, this is one where, and I'm more than happy to coach any of you guys. I have a certain presentation style. It is, and whenever I talk about presentation style, my view is always I want one word to describe what my goal is. And that's where my focus, and mine is authentic. Whatever it is I do, however it is I say it, I want people to come across with the idea of, well, Coppage is authentic. He is what he says is what he believes and all of that kind of fun stuff. So you can either have a situation, and if you take a look at the presentation and you go over with the guy who's going to do the presenting, and you can basically look and you can say, okay, there are three places where I want to insert my knowledge or my opinion, just to make sure. Because if you do it only a few times, as long as it's done in the right way, and that's still going to have the impact for the client, that they're going to walk away and say, okay, David understands what I want because he made sure the vendor covered that particular topic. So if they basically said, if David said something along the lines of, we need to make sure that all data is properly secured and encrypted, and you could just join in and say, and I want to make sure that those resources can be available both to internal IT people as well as a managed service provider, because that can be a partnership. You see what I'm saying? Because that positions you as not only the content, a bit of a content expert, but also you're engaging as I want you internal IT people to succeed and have access to these tools. So you can do that in a surgical way where you kind of look at the presentation and you find those places to insert, and then you can kind of let him know, or whoever the presenter is over on Datto. Or you could basically, as in my case, I feel absolutely empowered to interrupt anytime I want to. Because it's my presentation, it's not Datto's.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll probably hit you up sometime later about, or I guess maybe you'll share that maybe of this type of presentation you're doing.
The Datto, absolutely. Basically, what I'm doing now, and we're kind of revisiting the question of, do I put this event up on YouTube? Okay. And for the first time in a long time, I did not. And the reason being is because I want this, the fact that 100 and some people signed up, but only 12 or so actually joined is annoying to me. And I don't want the whole thing to be he'll put it up on a recording to be watched later, because we say that, and that's the reason why we didn't attend, but then we don't go and watch it. So what I'm probably going to do, and I'd love to hear some feedback from you guys, is actually, first of all, I'm probably going to break this down to a half hour. All right, because I do think an hour long in this day and age is too long of a presentation. But I'm also going to take this recording that I did and break out a couple of 1 to 2 minute sections. So the next time I want to run this, I can actually post the video of, here's what you missed, let's do it again. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So my goal is to ultimately have a number of presentations. So we've got this one coming up, and again, this one's going to be with Datto, but I've also got, let's see, another one coming up on the 28th, which is called Uncovering Risk in Your Organization, which is just going to talk about how organizations should kind of if they're not bringing in somebody on security, they should look at risk themselves. And we're going to be sharing some tools. Again, this is not aimed at CEOs. It's not aimed at IT directors. It's somewhere at the combination of them. And this is one where we're only going to be doing it for a half an hour.
And you're marketing these via this whole LinkedIn process we're talking about, the power of bringing people into these specific webinars you're doing.
Yep. Yeah. So in this particular case, oh geez. Okay, we're already up to 106 people or 108 people for this one.
And your expectation is you'll get about what, 20% of those that'll actually show?
If it went.
No, I'm being honest.
So am I. If it went to that's why I'm laughing. You're overstating it. If it's based on what happened last time, it'd be closer to 10%.
Okay. That's 10 people you otherwise didn't talk to.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. And I got a lead out of it. So
well, and LinkedIn, I mean, I think that's why we're all here, is it seems to be one of the better places to qualify CoMIT type of organizations that we're interested in.
Yep.
The issue is always just getting out any additional information, like, physical address, but then what do you do with that? Like we've just talked about at the beginning, where it's so hard anymore to get anyone to receive the materials we send and then to follow up with them. So really finding and making connections with the folks that we want to find from a CoMIT perspective seems to work best on LinkedIn, I think, is the assumption we're all having. So yeah, I mean, if you can make those connections and have those webinars, even 10 people is pretty phenomenal.
I wouldn't go too far one direction or the other. And quite honestly, this is one of those where I don't get overly happy and I don't get overly sad. This is it. So it's one of those where if right now I have one good solid lead out of this that we're putting together a proposal for, and that's not the guy who connected on LinkedIn or connected in that LinkedIn conversation. That's another one we brought in as well. So for the dollars it took for me to put this together, and for the dollars it took for me to attract these people, blah blah blah, I can't beat the cost per lead.
Are you still doing for CoMIT specific? Are you still doing non-LinkedIn marketing, like sending like your other campaigns, the book campaign and that kind of stuff?
At this point, no, because, and you may have missed the first part, we actually did the campaign where we sent out, these guys to about 150 people in July and August, and we got nothing. And we found in some cases they were so delayed that by the time they got them, it was very, very old news in terms of postal delivery, and also people working from home and all of that kind of fun stuff. We then said, okay, let's do a campaign, and we didn't do this, but we then just thought about doing a LinkedIn campaign where we would connect to them and say, hey, we want to send you a copy of this book or these books. Should we send you a physical copy or a PDF copy, and if so, to where? And we've started to do that, but then we decided to go with the whole video program and this event program. And so far, I'm happy with this.
Because see, what I struggle with is, aside from LinkedIn, like let's say we had some success with the book campaign or a similar type of campaign, it always comes back to, where are you getting those lists from? Where do you generate the lists? How do you research your prospects? And for me, it always comes back to LinkedIn. So if that's kind of where it seems like the best way to kind of build some initial lists, it seems logical to stay within the platform to draw those folks in.
And that's the thing, because if you go, what are the alternatives? The alternatives, and first of all, I'm not an SEO guy, okay? And I still don't think that CoMITs is advanced enough in the verbiage outside of MSPs to really be good on an SEO side. Although if I was smart, I'd probably start doing it now. So your cost per reach, whether it be I'm going to send you something physical, or I'm going to do calls, or I'm going to do whatever, are significantly higher just about everything else you do other than LinkedIn, unless you've got emails and have permission to, you can do email canvassing. Mm-hmm. Because the other thing is what else did we do? Well, we would drive around and we would identify businesses, and then we would come back and either buy a list or do whatever. And you buy a list, who knows who's still alive or still at those positions. In LinkedIn, you've got a much better chance, especially if you see that they've been active within a period of time.
Right. So I guess then, just kind of for my own knowledge, or just clarification, just to recap, I think what we're saying is, what I've got here is we are basically reaching out, making connections, posting videos with the whole strategy of them being connections and in groups to amplify the visibility, and then just kind of building that audience, essentially. And
right. Now let's talk about a couple of those things, because there's been a couple of things that I've left out. And again, I think in the README for this campaign, I've got the link to the LinkedIn webinar we did. So, are you guys familiar with pods in LinkedIn?
Nope.
Okay, a pod is and it is it doesn't actually exist. It's more of a strategy. So the whole thing is we want to be more visible. And the best way to be visible is have original content, but not only original content, but original content that other people like and comment and share. So what if we all got together and agreed to like, comment, and share each other's stuff? Mm-hmm. That's called a pod. So if you look at my notifications.
So sneaky, like Amazon stuff.
Well, and it's interesting because it works and it doesn't. So here's, and I also talk about the boot camp that I did, and I kid you not, her name is Shay Rowbottom. I've got information, and she's the one who really taught us how to do the video portion of this. Not options, not the events, but the videos themselves. I strongly suggest take a look at her program. We've got a link in it, or a link that has it doesn't have a discount for you, but it has a kickback for us. And if you sign up for her thing, it costs $5,000, but it's a one-time shot. But I'll then give you 40 of the scripts that we've generated.
And that's all around a process of developing the videos, developing the content.
Right. And actually, if you watch the webinar I did, I tell you how to do it. I mean, it's fairly straightforward. So, you know, all we do is we basically have here's a starting point. Here's our bullet points for the script. And then the conclusion. And then we have a standardized format that we developed through help from her people, but we found a third party that would do it, and rinse, lather, repeat. So we literally will sit here and we have some Excel worksheets that list all of the topics that we're going to be doing. So we've got like a couple hundred topics already identified. We then do the scripts. We all get together once a week. There's 3 of us working on it. We all get together once a week and review the scripts, say, yeah, they're close enough, they're good, they're whatever. And then I did 4 of them late yesterday. I just sat down and boom, 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're cut edits, meaning that I don't have to do the whole video at one sitting. I literally will do a line, look at the script, do another line, look at the script, do another line, and the editor basically puts it together as a style thing.
Huh.
So it's not that hard. But here's the thing. So if you look here, this is a pod with Bootcamp Elite members. And I have no idea how many people are in this. Okay, there's 37 people. These 37 people have agreed to like and comment positively on each other's video, and they certainly don't do it every day. But every time someone likes or comments on your video, that increases the likelihood of somebody else seeing your video the next time they go to LinkedIn. Because it must be good. Someone liked it or commented on it. Now, here's the problem, is that when you take a look at the way that LinkedIn weighs it, they'd really rather see people in your geographical area. Or honestly, that's what you want. So, and this is on my back burner of what I want to do, is I want to develop a pod of people in Northeast Ohio who also generate LinkedIn content, so we can like and share each other's stuff, because then it's all geographical when we talk about the algorithm used to determine how visible the stuff is. Does that make sense? So what we end up with is these videos. Now, it took me, it was an investment of $5,000, and we're probably spending about an hour of aggregate time on our side to create a video. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I did watch that LinkedIn video, and I'm kind of, I mean, $5,000 is doable, but it's not chump change, right? So
Right,
I'm a bit on the fence. So do you, I guess, you would say that you found that pretty valuable?
Absolutely.
Jump starting things.
Absolutely. Now, here's the thing. Try it without it. I've done, you can take a look at the video, and this is not me, and you'll see why she's so valuable. This is entirely up to you. But you could take a look at the videos. If you look at the videos I've done, the bullet points are the scripts, dude. So they're right there for you. And you could change the wording a little bit so you're not as much of a jerk as I am. So you can basically take that, make that your own, and you can actually then go, because what we did was we found a third party. We just found some independent guy who wanted to edit videos on the cheap. We spend about 15 to 25 bucks, would be my guess, for him to edit each video. Show him my video and say, I want something like that, but not the same. Which is what we did. They edited our first video.
So you guys, your team writes the scripts,
Right.
you record them, and then you send the video to your guy, and he
Right.
edits things. And then one of your other folks that you mentioned at the beginning, one of those housewives or whatever, they post the videos.
Yeah. That's it. So basically what you can do if you want to try this just to see whether it fits you, because part of this whole thing is, where's my visibility? Where's my brand building? Where's my, well, it's not, we used to do a monthly event at our office. Well, we're not doing that now. We did webinars. Those have got to be a pain in the butt. Plus, what's the topic? These topics aren't even necessarily about our business.
At what point are you saying, okay, well, we've got enough folks to do a webinar? Like, you know, when did you decide to do that webinar?
I don't, and that's a good question, because part of it depends on what's the overall goal. Part of my goal is I want to establish ourselves as the go-to as far as co-managed and the person who's going to help out the internal IT person in Northeast Ohio. So even if I'm not getting an immediate sale from some of these guys, and I can put these together pretty quickly, I'm okay with doing them just as a way to continue to build that visibility.
Right. So your goal at this point, really, because I'm looking at the PowerPoint from the latest campaign. I mean, you've got the book at the end, but the most of it is, I mean, you're really just kind of, it's informational. You're not.
I'm here to help.
Yeah.
So why am I here to help? I'm here to help for a couple reasons. One, because everybody expects LinkedIn to sell. Everybody expects LinkedIn to be there to, I want to sell you this, I want to sell you this, I want to sell you this. Two, MSPs are here to take your job. That's what the MSP exists for. That's what we do. And third, and this is maybe even more critical, part of our mantra is we're the cool guys. We're the jerk-free IT environment. We want to be the ones who you're glad to see us there. It's a good relationship. And to take this methodology, in my opinion, kind of works across all three of those issues simultaneously. All right. Now, let's say your value statement is different. You know, what would you say is your value statement as far as your MSP offering? What makes it different from everybody else's? Put you on the spot.
Well, we're actually pivoting to really be highly focused on co-managed. So I guess our offering is basically trying to bring security to the rest of the folks, right? Which I think is a lot of what we're all doing. So I guess I need to work on uniquing that a little bit. But you know, really bringing some of the services and the tools like we've talked about to those IT folks who lack them or don't know how to implement best practices and compliance and security and those kinds of things.
Okay. So is your competition going to be pure MSPs, or is it going to be the MSSP or the reseller? Who's your competition?
Probably an MSSP or a reseller. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Those areas.
So think about that for a second. The MSSP is going to come in from on, I'm going to stereotype here. The MSSP is going to come in from on high, and basically the implication is going to be that there's going to be a kind of a condescending relationship, because they're the MSSP, you're the internal IT person. This is, if you could understand this, you'd be doing it already. Okay. The service provider, the person who's just selling it, that's the seagull. Okay, you bought the product, good luck, tell us if it works. You're coming in, and the key word is partner. You're coming in to partner with that internal IT person. And that's that goal. That's that focal point, right? Now, again, 30-second analysis, you get what you pay for. But that would be, so every time you do a presentation, yeah, whatever you're presenting on the topic, yeah, that's meaningful. That's what, but partnering, that's your presentation. That's what you want people to walk away from with. You want them to walk away understanding the fact that, wow, this person is not going to just, you know, make me look like an idiot because they know everything and I don't, and they're not going to just sell me, and I'm going to be left not even know this guy's going to partner with me. I'm going to look smart because he's going to help me look smart. So every presentation you do, again, using all of my expertise, rounding up, would follow that guideline, whatever the topic is. Does that help?
That does, yeah.
Cool. And everybody else, I'm happy to have this conversation with anybody, but you need to be having it with somebody. Because at the end of the day, whether you're going after CoMITs or you're going after pure MSP, you need to know what it is that's different about you versus everybody else, whether it's true or it's aspirational. You need to know that. And whatever you do in terms of your marketing or your conversation, it needs to reinforce that. And for everything, if you watch our videos, I mean, this is a video about procrastination. You know, the one I've got up on the screen now. It's not about security. It's not about backups. It's not about monitoring or licensing or anything. It's about procrastination. But it's authentic and it's sharing. So, so much for me not wanting to do an hour-long presentation. So here's my question. What's the best thing we can do as far as, because I want to do this on a monthly basis if you guys are okay with it. And I will probably at this point have a new presentation of some kind or a new marketing of some kind. A lot of it's going to revolve around LinkedIn because that's what's working for us. So every month I'm going to have something new from that aspect of it. But I'd also like to hear from you guys what else you want to take advantage of as far as this goes, assuming this is worthwhile for you.
Hey, Bob, is it possible to create a Teams group, your channel for this, for CoMIT group? Yeah, I think that would be great so we can post questions or see your new videos there.
Cool. Well, link up with me on LinkedIn. Absolutely do that because you will see what we do in action. But yeah, I can do a Teams. Everybody else think that's a good idea?
Sure. How active is the Facebook group? Like, I guess.
So I think it's pretty active. Right now, we're up to about 950 members. And my biggest problem with that group right now is I've got a couple of members, there, I'll show it, who love to post stuff that's just general MSP. Whereas I'm trying to keep it so that it's focused. So like here's Otto, great. How to co-manage this ticketing system. That's great. And here's David Jackson pointing out that he's offering to run a 30 to 60 minute call with anybody who wants to talk about how to use Streamline. Believe me, I'm going to take part in that one.
If you can make that work in 30 minutes, you're a freaking hero.
It does have its challenges. And the problem, I've talked to to ConnectWise on several occasions, both at IT Nation or whatever, about what can we do to make this better? And it's always on deaf ears, which is weird because I actually learned the term co-managed IT at IT Nation. Anyway. So there's a lot more interaction with the general MSP public as far as CoMITs goes here. It's a work in progress.
Okay.
Yeah, we're up to 970 now. And it can't work in LinkedIn because my challenge is, like I had for the first time, one of my CoMITs clients asked to join this group. Yeah, and I had to go, sorry, but we talk about you a lot. So.
You are discussed.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually interesting because another one of my CoMITs clients actually agreed to be co-presented at an AUVIC event sponsored by Datto, where he and I both talked about CoMITs from our different perspective. It was actually a lot of fun. So I heard Teams. Any other thoughts or ideas as far as
Just schedule it out and see where it goes, I think.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of figuring this out. You're just the guy with your name on it, right?
Yeah, I'm the guy who's 10 feet ahead of the Lewis and Clark expedition.
Well, somebody's got to be out there for the bear, man. Someone's got to be out there for the bear.
I'll tell you, since we are right now, and I'm going to jinx myself, we have about 30,000 MRR CoMITs that is either proposed or going to be proposed in the next 2 weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so far, at least in 2 of them, the IT management are like, I'm doing everything I can to get you guys in.
Cool.
Yeah. So, is this worthwhile?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. All right. I mean, unless there's any other questions, which I'm happy to answer, this is pretty much it.
All right.
I'm good. Thank you.
Till
right.
next
Thank
time.
you. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, guys.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
See you next month.
Guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.